Fascinating question. Um, so I think I don't think we have the answer to that question yet. And the reason is because there are two reasons why we don't give information to, we don't give full control to the government, right? And one reason is informational. So the government can't have all the information, therefore you can't have a planned economy where the government can know everything and therefore make the optimal allocation. This is kind of the old school, Hayek argument, right? That the people who are doing the business know more about the business and therefore they can make the optimal decisions, and the market kind of works its way up towards the most optimal allocation, or closer to the optimal allocation. But I think there is another reason why we don't give full information or for full power to the government, is because power can be misused. And so even if the government has full information, that and can make the optimal and even more optimal, even better. Like, let's assume that governments can make a better centralized decision than a distributed sort of governance system, right? Whether you call it market or whatever, right? Then if that government gets corrupted, that's a single point of failure, and whoever controls that entity has enormous power, right? Or just makes the government more susceptible to capture by interests that can use that ability to control. So I think you have to think about those two things. So when AI, and by the way, here I'm talking as a computer scientist who's interested in political philosophy, but not as an expert on government, right? But so my intuition is that as AI and big data and our ability to track every action of citizens becomes better and better, and becomes even predictive, then in theory we can improve the decisions, right? We can make better decisions, but I think it would be very difficult to quantify the improvement in the decisions in terms of resource allocations or public policy and whatnot, and to also quantify the increased risk of misuse of this ability to make those decisions and this power, and how you trade those, let alone how you trade those off, right? So the whole idea of government, going back all the way to Hobbes, is precisely this, that we could cede some autonomy to the Leviathan, the government, that takes, that has monopoly on the use of force, and that can enforce contracts, and that they're the only ones who can put us in jail if we do something nasty to each other, and that this is necessary, right, for us to all thrive. Now, but then maybe we continue to tweak this power over hundreds of years, right? Since then, like maybe that was too much power, maybe give it a bit less, right? And now I think the reason is we don't know yet all the ways in which this power can be corrupted, and I think we're still figuring things out, right? And it's an adaptive system, so the different actors are always changing their strategies in response to the conditions. So when AI comes, I think it's an enormous kind of challenge of political institution design, as to how you could curb the potential misuse of this power while also benefiting from it. And I face this, I don't have an answer to this question, to be honest, and I don't think anyone does at this point. It's, we know that it's going to improve efficiency. Like if you have benevolent actors who just want to improve our health and influence our behavior in a way that would allow us to eat more healthy food and have more healthy exercise habits and education trajectories and all of that, and tell us, suggest to us each, maybe promote educational programs that will improve our individual and collective sort of well-being in the long run. That's great. But at the same time, those political actors can also influence us. They can, and influence our political beliefs and behaviors as well. Now, how much of that is okay and how much is too much? I think this is where it's a very thorny question, and I don't know if science. And the other thing is that we're not really running this as an experiment. I don't know if we can. If scientists it would be great if scientists could actually experiment with these things, and have more algorithmic power to some jurisdictions and less algorithmic power to other jurisdictions. But in the past, political institutions have competed, in an evolutionary race of some sort, right? And this is the way in which sort of institutions that are more democratic or more kind of inclusive seem to have emerged as the winners, by and large, I would say. But that's, as we're seeing nowadays, it's not. And as you see from Fukuyama that we were talking about earlier, that is not necessarily going to be forever, because the world is changing, the environment is changing, the technologies are changing. So what was optimal back then is, or in an evolutionary sense, may not be optimal going forward. So I think these are all really fascinating questions about what it means to be human, but also how do we bet on the future? And what's our best bet? I have no idea.